Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Creating a Business Plan for Dummies by Veechi Curtis, narrated by Gould. Publisher's note. This audiobook refers to figures and tables included in the print and e-book editions of the book. Introduction. I grew up in Scotland, where the winters can be wild, wet and cold. My father was a self-employed landscape gardener, and each year, as the days grew shorter, he would start hatching entrepreneurial plots to see the family through the scant earnings of the winter months. Handmade garden furniture, barrels from the local brewery scrubbed back and filled with violets, gold leaf mirror restoration, and beach-scavenged scallop shells were but a few of the ill-fated ventures that would transform our Victorian flat into a hive of industry for a few fleeting months of each year. I started my first business at the age of 26 and have been in business ever since, oscillating in a manner not unlike my father's between the more stable income of business consulting and the somewhat precarious existence of writing and publishing. Yet when I was working on this book, I realised something quite fundamental. While I've been steadily successful for more than 20 years, all too often the sensible, cardigan-wearing accountant side of me wins out against the risk-taking, creative, why don't we try this side of me. Possibly due to the rather feast and famine finances of my childhood, I typically spend more time analysing profit margins than I do thinking of creative new products. I focus more on managing risk than being a trendsetter. If you've been in business before, I'm sure you too have experienced this natural tension between your entrepreneurial side and the inner voice of reason. One challenge for me in writing this book has been to find ways to encourage dreams to flourish while simultaneously exploring the somewhat sobering process of writing a business plan. I'm writing this introduction having just finished the last chapter of this book and, happily, I think that the process has worked on me. I'm itching with impatience to begin my next business venture and feel utterly optimistic about its prospects. I remain my father's daughter, after all. I hope you have a similar experience with this book, and that I share enough inspiration for your inner entrepreneur to thrive, while at the same time providing unshakable, feet-on-the-ground practicality. About this book. I like to think that this book is a bit different from other business planning books, not least because this book is part of the For Dummies series. Dummies books aren't about thinking that you're a dummy, far from it. What the For Dummies series is all about is balancing heavyweight topics with a lightweight mindset and sharing a can-do attitude that encourages anyone, no matter how young or old, how inexperienced or how veteran, to give the subject at hand a go. I like to think that the Dummies way of thinking has helped me to bring a fresh approach to the subject of business planning. I've tried not to get bogged down in the same old stodgy discussions of mission statements, values and organisational charts. Instead, I've focused more on working with others, being creative and thinking of your business as something that's unique and separate from yourself. You may be surprised by the fact that I devote 6 whole chapters to the topic of finance. You'll only find one finance chapter in most business planning books. I'm a real advocate of the importance of financial planning and, in this book, I try to break the topic down into bite-sized chunks that anyone can understand, even if they haven't done any bookkeeping or accounting before. I also understand that most people who've worked in business end up with knowledge that's patchy. You may know heaps about marketing, but nothing about finance, or vice versa. The beauty of Dummies books is that you can just leap in, find the chunk of information that addresses your query, and start listening from there. One more thing. Throughout this book you'll see sidebars, text that sits in a separate box with grey shading. Think of sidebars as the nut topping on your ice cream. Nice to have, but not essential. Feel free to skip these bits. Foolish assumptions. When writing this book, I make no assumptions about your prior experience. Maybe you've been in business all your life, or maybe you've never been in business before. It could be that you're a tech geek, or it's possible that you hate computers. Maybe you love numbers, or, much more likely, you may have a somewhat queasy feeling when it comes to maths. I also make no assumptions about the age of your business and realise that for many people listening to this book, your business is still a seedling waiting to be watered. For this reason, I include practical advice such as how to budget for personal expenses while you're building your business, and why things such as your relationships and family situation are all part of the picture. Last, I don't try to guess where you live in the world. After all, the principles of business planning are universal, whether you're in the snowdrifts of Alaska, the stone country of Australia, or the quilt-swaying highlands of Scotland. Icons used in this book. Ahead of the pack. Want to get the killer edge? Then look for this handy icon. Check it out. This icon highlights free resources, worksheets, templates and checklists you can find online at dummies.com/go/creatingbusinessplan. International. This icon alerts you to international differences. I'm not talking about language, colour or creed here, but more mundane matters such as tax rules or government contacts. Remember, tie a knot in that elephant's trunk, pin an egg timer to your shirt, but whatever you do, don't forget the pointers next to this icon. Tip. This icon points to ways to give your business plan that extra spark. True story. Real-life stories from others who've been there and done that. Warning. A pitfall for the unwary. Listen to these warnings carefully. Beyond the book. I've created a whole heap of Excel and Word templates to make it easier for you to create your first plan. The Excel templates provide a great starting point for most of the financial projections, while the Word templates help you structure the narrative parts of your plan. You can find all of these templates at dummies.com/go/creatingbusinessplan. On this webpage, you can also find links to a few extra articles. In one article, I write about the psychology of sales projections, and in another I talk about managing expenses when cash gets tight. A third article talks about the psychology of goals and the art of setting goals that motivate you and others to carry out your plan. At dummies.com/extras/creatingbusinessplan, you can also find a bonus part of 10s list, with 10 tips for checking that your business plan idea is strong enough to fly. I also provide a neat video at dummies.com/go/creatingbusinessplan that corresponds to the Excel tips in Chapter 16, where you can not only watch a demonstration of each one of these tips, but also have the joy of listening to my reassuring voice as the soundtrack, almost as good, probably even better, than having me in the room beside you. Speaking of which, I really like to think of my books as a conversation with listeners, rather than a one-way monologue. If you have any comments, questions or feedback, I'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to email me at veechi@veechicurtis.com.au or go to Facebook and search for Veechi Curtis. Where to go from here? Creating a business plan for dummies is not an exciting thriller, probably a good thing given the subject matter, and doesn't require you to start at the beginning and follow through to the end. Instead, feel free to jump in and start listening from whatever section is most relevant to you. New to business and you've never created a business plan before? I suggest you listen to chapters 1, 2 and 3 before doing much else. Chapter 1 provides a roadmap for creating your plan, and chapters 2 and 3 help you to consolidate your business concept. From here, you're probably best to listen to the chapters in the order that I present them, because these chapters follow the same sequence as the topics within a business plan. If business strategy is more your concern, chapters 2, 3, 11, 13 and 14 are the place to be. Are financial projections a source of woe? Chapters 4 to 10 are here to help. For advice on creating a plan that can't fail to impress prospective lenders or investors, chapters 14 and 15 explain how to pull your plan together. Chapter 17 provides tips on getting your plan to look good, and Chapter 18 offers a handy checklist to make sure you don't forget a thing. Part 1. Getting Started. Getting started with creating a business plan. In this part, explore the whole idea of business planning. Discover how you can prepare your plan in small chunks of time over a period of weeks or even months, and assess the potential of your business idea using a simple scorecard. Figure out what your business does best and identify where the strategic advantage of your business really lies. Explore the delicate relationship between risk and gain, and understand why the craziest ideas often have the most potential. Go underground to research your competitors, creating a full dossier on each one, and position your business against competitors to develop a winning competitive strategy. Never gaze awkwardly at your feet again. Prepare the killer elevator speech instead. Chapter 1. Letting your plan take flight. In this chapter, getting started without another moment's hesitation, thinking about the structure of your plan and how long it's going to take. Eating, drinking, sleeping, and planning, all part of everyday life. Summarizing everything on a single page. Rating yourself and your business idea with a quick and easy quiz. You probably already know that if you spend time working on your business, rather than just working in your business, you have a heaps better chance of higher sales, more profit, and a generally easier existence. One of the main reasons people don't get around to creating a business plan is that they think they don't have enough time. Pish tosh, you don't need to spend weeks creating an impressive 30-page document. Instead, what you need to do is change your way of thinking. Rather than making a daily to-do list of all the people you have to call, brew yourself a cup of tea and have a think about your pricing strategies. Rather than fretting about all the jobs that need doing, spend a couple of hours researching your competitors. Some of the most important elements of a business plan can be done while you're in the shower, on the beach, or driving in the car. Attitude is everything. To create a great business plan, all you need is a willingness to be objective about your strategy, the discipline to analyze your financials, even if you're not naturally good with numbers, and the ability to think of your business as something that's separate from you. So, no more excuses, no skipping to another chapter, no closing this book with a sigh. It's time to start planning, and there's no time like the present. Getting your feet wet and having fun. In creating a business plan for dummies, I place less emphasis on the importance of creating a written plan and more on why planning is best viewed as an all-year-round activity. The neat thing about this way of thinking is that you can start with your plan at any time, even if you know you only have 1 hour free this week and you're flying to Europe for a skiing holiday the next. Planning can be a heap of fun once you get started. Some of my best business ideas have come to me while lying in the hammock at our holiday house, digging up weeds in the garden, or having a quiet coffee down at the village. Deciding who this plan is for. You, of course. Your plan is an ongoing process, not a massive document that you create every year or so. Feel free to pick a structure, time, and format that works well for you. Occasionally, other people may want to have a sticky beak at your plan, usually prospective investors or lenders. On these occasions, you probably want to create a formal plan using a fairly traditional format and focus more on the presentation and readability of your plan. One thing to bear in mind, however, regardless of who is likely to read your plan, I strongly suggest that when it comes to the financials, sales targets, income projections, profit projections, and so on, you be consistent. Don't have one version of financials for your own purpose and another spruced-up version for the bank. True story. One of my first jobs after I graduated was as a warehouse manager for a small but growing company. Money was always tight, and we were forever presenting new plans and cash flow projections to prospective lenders. Part of my job was to massage the figures to show that while cash was desperate in the coming 6 months or so, and hence loan funds were required, things would soon turn the corner and, within a couple of years, we would be awash with funds. I discovered how easy it was to manipulate figures, a topic I explore further in Chapter 8 when I look at scenario analysis. By adding 10% to sales, trimming expenses by the same amount, and maybe increasing the gross profit a little, I could transform dire predictions into something that looked amazing. Trouble is, these figures were pure fiction. The manipulated scenarios inevitably created a false sense of security and led to some pretty poor long-term decision-making. The moral of the tale: don't get hoodwinked into selling your plan and exaggerating your likely success. Stay as realistic as possible. This tactic will help you gain respect from any likely investors and keep you grounded as to what lies ahead. Choosing your dance partners. As a business owner, you need to have a good understanding of your financials, a solid commitment to marketing, a razor-sharp insight into your competition, and a keen sense of strategy. Even if you don't have all of these skills yet, I can't think of a better way of acquiring these skills than getting involved in your business plan. Experience is a generous teacher. Having said this, unless you've run a business before, you'll almost certainly need a little help from outside. Good news is that all you have to do is ask. Consider the following sources. Tip: business planning courses. In my opinion, a structured course spread over several weeks or even months is the best possible way to accumulate basic planning skills. Not only do you have the discipline of working on your plan at least once a week, but you also usually receive expert mentoring from the teacher or teachers, as well as peer support from other people in a similar position to you. Business advisory centres. Depending on where you are in the world, business advisory centres have different names and structures. However, most state and federal governments fund some form of free advisory centres. Business consultants. While I warn against delegating the whole planning process to outsiders, expert consultants can be a great resource, especially if you retain control and ownership of your plan. Your accountant. I strongly recommend that you do your own financial projections, rather than delegating this task to a bookkeeper or accountant. I explain just how in chapters 4 through to 10. However, after you have made your best attempt, consider asking your accountant to review your figures and help you to identify anything that doesn't make sense or seems unrealistic. Your lawyer. In Chapter 14, I talk about managing risk, including protecting your name and your brand, and limiting liability through company structures. Your lawyer is an excellent source of advice for this part of the planning process. Friends and family. Not only is the advice of friends and family usually free, but these people also understand you like nobody else. Support and encouragement from friends and family is invaluable on those doubtful days when you think you and your new business idea may be crazy. Your spouse or life partner. Last but not least. Need I say more? Looking at different online planning tools. In creating a business plan for dummies, I try to provide you with everything you need to build your plan, including a whole bunch of free templates and resources that you can download from dummies.com/go/creatingbusinessplan. You may be wondering how these templates compare to the many business planning templates or software applications you can find online, many of which are also free. At a surface level, most of these templates provide you with pretty much everything you need to create a plan. However, when writing this book, I've reflected on my experience from running business plan courses. What I find is that some concepts of business planning that may take only a few sentences to summarize are really hard for those new to business to grasp. For example, almost anyone can explain the concept of strategic advantage in a few sentences, and most business planning templates simply provide a word template with a few blank lines in which you can write your strategic advantage. In real life, I find that these concepts usually take several sessions to gel with my students. It's for this reason that I devote 2 whole chapters to the concepts of strategic and competitive advantage, chapters 2 and 3, and I recommend you listen to these chapters early in your business planning process so you can be sure a solid foundation is in place when you create your plan. However, what you may find works well is to use a business planning template in conjunction with this book. You can find a whole heap of industry-specific templates online, and you may even find topics within these templates that I don't cover in detail within this book. B-Plans at bplans.com is probably the world's leader in business planning templates and software, and provides an excellent starting point. Ahead of the pack. As well as business planning templates, you can also consider business planning software. You can either buy software that you install on your computer, such as Business Plans Pro, available from bplans.com, or MAUS Masterplan, available from maus.com.au. Or you can subscribe to online planning software in the cloud, such as liveplan.com or planhq.com. I prefer cloud-based software because you can pay as you go, and because the cloud makes working collaboratively with others so much easier. The main difference between business planning templates and business planning software is the sophistication of the financials. For example, the financials in most business planning software packages, including those in the cloud, include profit and loss projections, cash flow projections, budgets, break-even analysis, balance sheets, and more. You usually find that all the financials interconnect, so that if you change a figure in your profit and loss projection, the change automatically flows through to the other financial reports. Tip: while business planning software can be a real benefit if figures and maths don't come naturally to you, the downside can be inflexibility. For example, you may find that you can't adapt the list of expenses, or that the format for sales projections is limited. Assuming you have a decent internet connection, why not weigh up the pros and cons for yourself by subscribing to a service such as liveplan.com for 30 days or so. Subscriptions cost approximately $19.95 US per month, and a small payment of this nature is hardly likely to break the bank. Are you ready? I find that if someone really wants to start their own business, wild horses can't hold them back. The idea keeps coming around and around until that person finally takes the leap and says, "I'm going to give it a go." So if you're champing at the bit to start your new business, I have just 3 questions to ask you first. Do you have experience in the kind of business you're planning to start? For example, if you're looking at buying a coffee van, have you actually spent a few days selling coffee in this way? Do you have barista or retail experience? Do you definitely have enough capital to get started? If you're not sure, do you think you may be better saving for a while before you launch your business? See Chapter 4 for more on budgeting for startup expenses. Is your partner or spouse supportive? I remember my now ex-husband wanting to start up in business when our first child was just 6 months old. He was ready to start a new business, but I certainly wasn't. If your answer to any of these questions is no, I suggest that you try to temper your enthusiasm just a little, and if you still can't wait, then, hey, I completely understand. Scoping the nature of your plan. While planning is certainly best done on an ongoing basis, the ideal approach the very first time you create a business plan is to cover all the elements of your plan: concept, strategy, financials, marketing, people, and so on, within a reasonable time frame, and then collate all your workings into a single document. This approach requires a certain level of discipline, but by the time you get to the end, you're going to be left with a major sense of achievement. Structuring your plan. The best format for a business with a turnover of $100 million and 200 employees is going to be utterly different from the best format for a startup business with no employees. For this reason, you can find as many possible formats for a business plan as recipes for bolognese sauce. What most formats have in common, however, is certain key elements, although the sequence of these elements varies. See the following section for how much planning time each of the elements is likely to require. I tell you where to find more detailed information on each one in the following section as well. Here are the key elements of a business plan. An overview of the business and its strategy. This introduction to your plan includes your mission, a brief description of your business, and a strategic advantage statement. A complete summary of financials. At its simplest, the financial part of your plan may only include a profit and loss projection for the next 12 months. More detailed plans include profit and loss projections for 24 or 36 months ahead, plus historical profit and loss reports and balance sheets for the previous year or years. Financials often also include break-even analysis, cash flow projections, and budgets. A people plan. Who are you, and why are you so awesome? What are your skills and the skills of those involved in your business? A marketing plan. A marketing plan is usually several pages long and includes competitor analysis, unique selling points, target market analysis, sales targets, marketing strategies, and a bit more besides. An analysis of industry and economic trends, as well as a summary of what you perceive to be opportunities or threats. No business is an island, particularly in a very fast-changing world. This part of your plan looks at factors outside of your control, such as industry or economic trends, possible opportunities that your business could exploit, and threats that you need to guard against. Your risk management plan also belongs in this section. Note, you may find that the industry analysis section sits better in the first part of your plan, immediately following your business and strategic overview, so that you provide a complete summary of your strategic platform. A summary of your goals. Here's where you get to share your dreams, neatly sliced and diced into monthly, 6-monthly, and yearly goals. In this book, I work through the preceding 6 key elements in sequence, The only exception is the mission statement, which normally goes at the beginning of a business.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?